giving your time and thoughts to these things. So the question we have there is, if we're okay with going through medical procedures to treat and assist those with disabilities, why is it not okay for those with gender dysphoria? What's the difference there?
So the difference is that when we're treating people with medicine, we're paying attention to their design. The goal is, what is the nature of a human being? And where illness, accident, disability, where we experience a departure from our design and from what human nature is, then the goal in medicine is to return you to that design. But we're living in a world where human choice and autonomy is so significant that we're moving into a realm where medical technology is being used not to return people to design, but to improve people. And what that's called is transhumanism. And I mean, the simple view of it, the ethics of it, is, you know that guy that used to run really, really quick on spikes? What's his name? Oscar Piastri? Not Oscar Piastri, Oscar Pistorius.
Pistorius.
Yeah. So he could run faster than a human with flesh legs because he was on these spikes. And it raised the question ethically, if you wanted to run really fast, would it be ethically okay to amputate your legs in order to do that? And this will become an issue for us, because what happens when robotic technology becomes so good that a prosthetic limb is stronger, more dexterous, more flexible, able to do better things than your own limbs? Would it be an ethical thing for you to amputate all your limbs and attach prosthetics? And I would argue, no, that wouldn't be an ethically wise thing to do, because you're not returning your body to nature, you're trying to improve on nature. And so that's why with people with disabilities or illness or accidents, you're trying to bring them back to who they are made to be. You're not trying to improve or change their nature. And that's, in gender dysphoria, to change your gender is not to return to design, but to change design. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. Restorative rather than altering. Yeah. What encouragement can you give for husbands and wives that do not feel sexually compatible and can't experience the wonders of sex?
Do you want to share?
I think the first thing to say is that if this is a grief for you and a challenge for you, thank you for writing in. The Bible says you are compatible. As a man and a woman, you're beautifully compatible. And I would really encourage you to, together with professional help, with date nights, with time away together, with kindness, with care, with affection, to embrace that compatibility. I'm not saying that that's an easy or quick fix, but I want you to be assured that the Bible says you are sexually compatible as a man and a woman, and that is a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. You've been given to each other for love, commitment, and pleasure. And so, yeah, whether that's seeing a specialist who can help you in this area, whether that's carving out time for intimacy, for friendship, for fun, for date nights, for meals out, whatever it is, know that God has given you to each other as compatible male and female.
Yeah, and the other thing to say there, sex isn't just about penetration, it's about loving and serving and bringing pleasure. And so if there are physical difficulties in doing that, you just got to return to what is the purpose of sex. God's given it as a way of loving this person, and so that may need to look different, but we need to work on our attitudes in how we're coming together there.
Great. Is plastic surgery considered violence to the body as well?
Great question. Do you have thoughts?
I mean, there's probably this isn't very black and white, is it? There's lots of nuance here. If we think about the art restoration piece, we think about a woman who's had breast cancer, double mastectomy. Is her having breast implants violence to the body? I'd say, well, no, that's plastic surgery that's designed to restore the artwork, to bring dignity back to her body and return it to what it was. So I don't think all plastic surgery is violence to the body. People who are disfigured from an accident might have a nose job to restore it. My brother had a nose job because he had such a deviated septum that he couldn't breathe at night. You know, like, not all plastic surgery is violence to the body. Often it can be restoration to the body. So I think it's about intent and purpose. There are, of course, some plastic surgery that is certainly violence to the body. And that will be because the intent is to transform away from restoration. It's to move away from original design in such a way that isn't congruent with who God has made us to be.
I guess aging also introduces, in some ways, a deviant, a departure from a standard. And I don't know what the ethics of that is. I'm probably more open to it, but maybe it's the heart, which is that a Christian's heart won't be obsessed with how they look. And that'll frame what's needed here, what isn't. Yeah.
Tough, yeah. Okay, next one. Although created equal, Genesis 2 seems to imply man as primary, he's created first, and woman as his helper. Is this patriarchy?
I've actually got a joke about this. Do you want
Great.
to hear it? The joke is God created man, and then he had a better idea.
And that's what 1 Corinthians says.
Not going to argue.
1 Corinthians says that man is the glory of God and woman is the glory of man. And so woman is the glory of the glory. She's the high point.
Yeah, I think I was reflecting on this during the sermon, actually, wondering if a question would come up like this. Because we might be trained to believe that second is, first is best, second is worst, and that kind of created order somehow implies inferiority. Like, oh, women were created second, that means they're below the man. I think there's certainly what Paul brings out in 1 Corinthians, but there's also such dignity to being created as the suitable, perfect helper for Adam. It was the first thing that was not good that God created. He looked at the man who was alone and said, it is not good. And then he created woman and said, this is very good for man and woman to be together. So there's real dignity there. Being made second doesn't imply inferiority or substandard or an afterthought, like God had a better idea when he got it wrong the first time.
But it does imply responsibility, and that's made explicit a couple of times in the Bible. It implies
order, but not value.
Yeah.
We see that men and women are co-heirs, but there is order built into creation, that Christ is head of the church and husband is head of his wife. That's the created order that we see.
At a level of, I need to keep pushing, at a level of responsibility, not at a level of demand. That is not what it means to be head. It's that he's responsible for her, to love, protect, serve, feed, nourish, care for. There is a asymmetry there, but it's not a patriarchal men are better, women are worse. The word helper is used of God a number of times in the Old Testament. God is our ever-present help in trouble. And so there's nothing disparaging about calling woman helper there, unless you think it's disparaging to call God our helper, which it isn't. He has unique strengths, so does woman to the man.
Yeah, great answer. Okay. Last question. Sorry, there are lots, which is what we've found through the whole series, which has been wonderful. Love to see people thinking. But last question, should Christians use preferred pronouns?
What's your view?
I'd say we should use God's preferred pronouns, he, him. But when it comes to loving other people who identify as non-binary or trans, I mean, I'm just speaking from my personal conscience here. I feel uncomfortable about calling someone what I don't think they are. Very happy to use their preferred name. So if they've changed their name, I will call them by their name. But I believe that God has made us male and female. He, she, not they, them. And so this is a conscience issue for me, and I appreciate that many people here will feel differently, but that's the line I take, that I will call them by their new name if they've changed their name, and I will use workarounds to make sure that I'm not offending or upsetting them, but I won't use different pronoun to what God has made them as.
I'm probably, I do think sometimes it's a form of hospitality to name someone by what they've asked you to name them. So I might be just a little, but I always find it uncomfortable because I don't want to lie by the way I'm speaking to them. But at the same time, I don't think every issue needs to be brought up every time that you're in a conversation with someone. And so if that's what they're asking me, I'll do it. But as the relationship deepens, I want to sit down with them and say, tell me your story, what's happening. And I want to get to the point where God made you a certain way. And I know you have a difficult experience embracing that, but what he loves, he's calling you to love. And then I'd express, I sometimes find it uncomfortable to call you by your pronouns, and sometimes I might revert to the other. I don't mean any ill will towards you in that, but it's that I want to love the one God's made, and God's made you this way, and so that's it. But I wouldn't be personally, and I do think it's a conscience issue, I wouldn't be, I'm not overly prescriptive on which way I go. It's what do they need right now, and when you're loving someone, you can't always tick every single box, you make compromises, and for me, that's just, I'll compromise for a bit. At some point I want to hear their story. And so it's a complicated one.
Yeah. Great. Thanks so much, Toby and Liv. Can you guys show our appreciation